Hello, Sonor family. Jules here, and it is Monday morning again already. Hope you had a great weekend. Hope you've got a good week lying ahead. Uh, I got some new things going on. I think is going to lead to some good things. So we'll just see how all that shakes out. I want to thank everybody that checks in and watches these from time to time. I started doing this because I knew I needed to increase my content. And, I read some things about building the channel and some tricks and things you need to do. And having a coffee with Jules was not one of them, but the idea came to me because I thought it was a good way to just kind of keep people up to speed and all that with the real intention of adding to my content to make my channel more substantial. But what I have found in talking to some people is that there are actually folks that enjoy watching these things. So this is going to be pretty cut and dry this morning. But starting with Fridays, I plan on trying to add some humor, try to add a little bit more color to this thing. I'd like you to get done with this with a smile on your face. And I think I'm a little bit on the silly side anyway, so maybe sometimes there's a little nuance there that makes the corners of your mouth curl up a little bit. But anyway, I appreciate everybody that does watch these things, and have come to realize that they're taken a little bit more seriously than I thought. So I'm gonna pep them up a little bit. And so right now, what I'm going to talk about is the Sonor Talk. The recent one we had come out Saturday morning was with Paul Woodham, and he is a UK based guy for the people that haven't watched that yet. And he bought the 150th anniversary signature fusion set, and he's actually gigging with his. Now, personally, I would probably, if I had one, if I were in a position to buy one, I'd have it under lock and key and probably have an armed guard standing there ready to shoot on sight if necessary. But Paul actually takes his out, and it's not because he doesn't respect the fact that he's got a once in a lifetime piece of equipment, but he wants to share it with others. And I think that's an amazing attitude. And if you haven't watched the interview with him, I highly recommend that you do that. And if you're somebody that has been on the fence about whether or not to take the plunge with buying one of these really expensive shell sets, this interview just might be all it takes to nudge you that little bit. On my forum, we've done some numbers crunching. I have, and somebody else has chimed in. If you compare the 150th anniversary shell sets with similarly configured SQ2s, there is a very nominal difference. I mean, within 4% when I crunched the numbers a month or so ago. Also, if the actual signature set had continued on as it was when it left the price list in 94, I think it was, you're still, I think it would have been substantially more expensive. Now, somebody speculated it would be $31,000 once you've added the gold hardware when you factor in for the exchange rate and inflation and all that. That's on the forums. If you want to check that out at drummandstage.com forum, it's a pretty interesting set of numbers. So really and truly, if you really break it down and take a good hard look, these are fairly priced shell sets, I believe. And then when you hear Paul talk about his and talk about talking to somebody from Sonor about the gold plating and how he wasn't a real big fan of DW's gold plating, but the Sonor gold plating is done by a company that's been doing it for a very long time, and Sonor is very confident about the work they do. And again, I'm going to defer to the video. Go back and watch the video if you haven't already. And I think you'll take a lot away, whether or not you're interested in the 150th anniversary shell sets. And I launched a new series this week called Sonor Talk on Point. And what that is that's breaking out tidbits from longer interviews. The original Todd Sucherman interview was an hour and 42 minutes long. I went back and broke out the specifics about why he came back to Sonor after almost 25 years. And that's about a 20-minute segment. So for somebody that wants to go look at specifics about, you know, something that was in the original interview, that will be broken out more and more as time progresses. I'm waiting to see what kind of response I get from my sponsor, Atlanta Drum Shop, for any feedback they get from people that are responding to him sponsoring that particular video. I'm going to talk to other people about sponsorship. So, kind of letting this first one run for a little while. I want to see what the turnout is. We were at over five or 600 views, uh, which I thought was great. The original interview was timed perfectly. I mean, it came out at just the right time. Everybody had just found out Todd was back with Sonar. I came out with quote the whole story unquote. It was almost 2 hours long, but people wanted to know why he was back, and I had the answer. So over 15,000 views in the first 20 hours. I knew going into these on point segments that we weren't going to see those numbers, and I don't expect it, and I know it's not going to happen. But to have five or 600 views in the first couple of days puts a smile on my face. And incidentally, I think we're at the five or above the 500 view mark for Paul Woodham's interview. And you know what? For a guy that largely isn't, he's not an internationally known sonar artist. So to get that kind of turnout on a video like that pleases me to no end. And I appreciate him very much. And he was a lot of fun. It was a feel good interview for sure. And one thing we touched on was sonar quality now. And there's been other people that have bought the signature sets that, and one particularly claims that the workmanship now is substantially better than it was on the signature set he's got from the 80s or 90s. And I think that's a big deal. I think that's something that us Sonar nuts ought to be excited about is that after all these years, Sonar still finds a way to ring out better quality and all that as they go. They didn't reach a plateau, and this was the pinnacle of what they could do. But it's more work than it's necessary, and the market just doesn't require that. And we're still better than the other brands. It's not like that. They are still operating at the top level they possibly can. And as a guy who really likes the direction the company's going and the product line and all that, I feel very good about that. And I have all current gear. All of my gear is current production stuff. And as that changes, I will change with it as long as I believe in what the company's doing. And hopefully I will outlive, or hopefully I won't live long enough to see uh, that change. And I just don't think it will. Um, if you've got a Sonar story, I will interview you. If it's an interesting story, I will interview you. You don't have to be somebody that anybody recognizes. You certainly don't have to be somebody that everybody recognizes. Um, I'm just looking for people that have interesting stories, and the turnout for people to watch these things with more of local guys or people that are less known. Turnout's been good on these. We're not talking, 40,000 views or anything like that. But for a small channel like mine that doesn't have a big footprint and doesn't have a very strong presence, I'm loving the numbers. And I want to continue going forward with all that. So if you or somebody you know is a sonar nut and has an interesting story or an interesting piece of gear to talk about, get in touch. Drumandstage@gmail.com is my personal email account. And, or you could go through the forum and reach me through the forum. I wish everybody would sign up for that. Drumandstage.com/forum. If you haven't signed up, there will be a day that you will, because as we build this thing more and more, that's going to become more and more substantial. So, just check that out and sign up, and feel free to chime in wherever you see fit. And as far as the forum goes, there's an area called Sonor Family Album. And so everybody that's posting their gear in there, I'm actually breaking that out into separate pages. So if you have posted in Sonar Family Album, you now have a specific page on the forum, and that will continue indefinitely. So anytime somebody goes in there and posts their gear, if they don't already have their own page, they will. And maybe that's a big deal to you, maybe not. Either way, we're doing it, and I think in the long run, it's going to work out really good. So now it's time for me to beg a favor of you. If you have any publications where Sonar has posted or not or published parts, exploded views, technical drawings, any of that kind of stuff, uh, I would love a scan of that if you don't mind. Sonarmuseum.d has a lot of that. The thing is, I don't like going and robbing that stuff from another website. Whether or not it's watermarked, I don't think it shows integrity. So I would prefer to have that provided by people who have these publications. If you don't have the ability to scan it, and if you can just take really crisp, clear, legible pictures, post those. We'll do what we can with those. If you've got scans and you see that somebody's already provided a scan, but yours is better quality, be it a better scan quality or a publication that's in better condition. This isn't a competition. I hope nobody would get their feelings hurt because they provided something and then somebody comes back and says, "Wait a minute, here's a little bit better." The whole crux of this is for us to have the best and most resources available to anybody in the sonar world that may need to find a part number to help, with fixing or replacing something broken or missing or whatever the case may be. So I appreciate the help of everybody that would get involved. If you've got that, we sure would appreciate your help with that. That's going to be posted on the forum for right now. Eventually, I'm going to get serious about working on the drummonstage.com site. In the long run, the forum will be moderated and maybe even administrated by somebody else. May have somebody else working on the site while I focus on interviews and YouTube content. Eventually, I'm going to have somebody else involved with the YouTube channel when somebody comes along this interested and wants to conduct some interviews and wants to build videos about repairing, replacing, refurbishing items or whatever sonar related. So if you've got an interest in being a part of what we're doing on any level at all, by all means, let me know. That is what I'm looking for. I'm looking to really build this thing into a large, strong resource. I hope this becomes something that lots and lots of people become actively involved with in the long run. Um, you know, I may pass it along to somebody else when it looks like the lights are going to dim or go dark on me here. Um, so I'm looking to build this thing for the long run. I really got a long term plan for this thing, and I'm asking everybody that's got some creativity to be a part of this. And I think that's going to wrap it up for us for today. I appreciate your time. Friday, I plan to lighten it up a little bit. We'll have some serious content, but maybe I'll have a joke for you or something. And if you have any ideas for that, drummandstage@gmail.com. Hope you have a good week, and I will talk to you Friday.